Yeah, it's about time is it? About 2 o'clock, almost 2 o'clock here in the afternoon. 2 p.m. 1400. It varies. Right now, I'm just trying to refine her pose and stuff, and then I'll get into some cleaner artwork. Ooh, that is a giant eraser. I keep wanting to do some streams in the morning, Pacific time. Just sometimes it's a little tricky if I have to kind of take care of work stuff, first or whatever. So hashing things out with creative directors first thing in the morning, need room to take phone calls if necessary. So right now, it's, especially with the lockdown, it's a little trickier to plan on streaming earlier. I'm feeling like she doesn't quite have the like sort of arch that I want, although she is sort of doing a little more of a free fall, so I feel like a lot of kind of torque would happen right when she jumps, not by the time she's in a free fall, where she'll be a bit more relaxed by that point. But I still want a little bit more. this had started as a little thumbnail in my sketchbook, so inevitably, when you draw that small, you're gonna need to refine it as you get larger with it. Little proportional things. The knight character. I think I know who you're talking about. And that story is still ongoing. And some of that stuff I will get back to. I wanted to get, we're doing a few prints that are exclusive to the Kickstarter campaign for my book. And this is one of them. So, there are just things that I need to kind of get done. And then once those things are done, then I'll get back to some of the more kind of long-term, little longer-term projects, including that one. I've been kind of jotting down notes for that story and I'm trying to figure it out. It's a tricky one because I have these characters in my head, but I don't have the story yet. And that's always a little frustrating. I thought I had the story, and then kind of it started out as one thing, which was really fun, and then after a while I was like, no, that's not what I want to, that's not the story I want to tell. So I know what story I don't want to tell. I don't know what story I do want to tell. I've got 3 characters in here, but the horizon line is, somewhere, I think, lower than the center of the piece, so we're actually going to be looking up at her a little bit. I have to remember that. I have her blown up right now in the piece so that I can get into the details, and then she'll shrink back down. But perspective. Feel like it's her head. Interaction with her head and her shoulders. That's looking a little too blah. So she's okay. Yeah, this is the score for Red Dead 2. I think I have all 3 scores on a playlist right now. Red Dead 1, Undead Nightmare, and Red Dead 2. I was actually more excited about the new soundtrack than I was about the game. That's what I need. Okay. I see. We see what's wrong. But I also want her to have a little bit longer neck. So, a couple things we gotta do here. So yeah, not all of this music is actually soothing, but I do love Woody Jackson and Bill Elm. They do awesome music. Okay, so gotta tweak these arms here. Just bring a couple things. I want those shoulders to really be like up. So that's what I needed to tweak here. Actually, I'm just gonna redo this one. Just get some of this stuff roughed in so I can kind of nix that rough underneath, because we don't need it. Part of me does want, even though she would sort of be free-falling at this point, part of me does kind of want to just push her pose a bit, just because the others look pretty cool. She looks pretty rad. She's got a pretty fun pose. So she's looking kind of not as rad. Let's also bring her down a little bit because she's getting a little too close to the top. So it's funny how long this part of the process can take sometimes, and then it's like, but once you get it right, the rest of it goes so much smoother. It's important to take the time to do it right. Losing track of our perspective here. What the hell is going on? I swear sometimes these brushes get really wonky and just will... No, they're supposed to be more like tilt sensitive, but sometimes I swear they'll just be like trying too hard to mimic a real pen or something and just randomly do a giant blob. Let's see. Well, maybe we'd catch just part of it. Technically we wouldn't if it's the same size as the other one, but you know, we're gonna fake it because I feel like if we just have it disappear, it would be awkward, and so we're better off all right, let's push some of this stuff around. Liquify tool is our friend. I want a little more arch just because not just because, I just want a little more torque. Since we have our basic marks down, we can just push them around and have fun. The actual print for this will be A4 size, right? So the same size as the book. I am working on it. This brush is just not working right now. I'm working on it at A3 size, so double what it would print at. Upside is it might end up being a diptych instead of a single piece, in which case I can just basically split it down the middle and turn it into two horizontal A4 prints. So might end up doing that. I'm not opposed to it. I'm not worried about the cleanliness of the lines yet, but I will get into that soon. It will be a color print, yeah. So I am going to get into some full color, and I'm kind of on the fence as to whether I want to like fully paint the figures, or because I'm kind of leaning toward doing like something that looks a little more like almost like an animation still, you know, where maybe they have a bit more line work going on and simpler lighting, right? Local colors with just like a basic kind of shadow and light pattern. These girls are like cyber elves, so you know, all cybernetic and shit, probably more robotics than human or elven. Gotta remember they're not human, they're elves. But I like the idea of like sci-fi elves. I think it's kind of fun. But their bodies are pretty much like robotic. Why they can free fall from the top of a giant skyscraper with no worries, because their bodies can handle the landing. But that's what a lot of these sort of construction lines are going to be about. thing. Oh, where's my sketchbook? I've done a drawing of them. Hang on. And I quite liked the patterns. Oh yeah, that was the original. Where are we? There. That was the original sketch. Okay. Here we go. But I'd done this drawing of all three of them, and so that's just what I will reference. Figure I took the time to figure out a few patterns. I might as well use it. Right. And then get into cleaning up the line work here. Feels really bent. Don't like it. That's why shoulder needs to get kicked back. There's so many little kinetic things to figure out sometimes, just as soon as you get into some different angles. Of course, it didn't help probably that I was just like pushing things around with the liquefy, but whatever. Whatever. Gets me in the ballpark. A little better. And I keep debating with them. I want them to have like shoes. Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I love to paint up characters, and so the nice thing is, if I treated it a little bit like an animation frame, I can always decide to paint them, because that would almost be part of my process anyway on the way to painting them. So yeah, there's a good chance I will end up actually painting them. So I keep debating if I want them to have some kind of shoes or if I want it to almost be like built in as just part of their exoskeleton thing. But I did do... Where's she at? I'm just referencing one of the initial character that I did for... Yeah, I basically had them like built in. Let's do that. Let's stick with it. We did it. Took the time. Stick with it. And they're not actually like laces or anything. They'll be like mechanical kind of details. Because laces on robotic shoes would be weird, I think. Nothing against laces. I just don't like them. I was talking with someone because I have these handmade, they're these leather kind of, I don't really know what style shoe they are, but you know, they could be almost like a dress shoe kind of a thing, but they're handmade, and it's basically almost like they just didn't bother to punch the lace holes in. Like that's how they look. So they're just slip-ons, but they look awesome. They're like handmade by some awesome cobblers down in Mexico. And apparently, yes, they actually get a good cut of the sales. So they're not actually cheap labor. They're actually hiring them for their skills to be able to make a higher quality product. So that's cool. I'm okay with that. Cyber details. But I don't want all the characters to have like the same details, right? I want it almost to be like they've customized themselves. So, so all this stuff there will be some consistencies, just for the sake of the world that they're in. Alright, I feel like some of these perspectives are just a little... it's working. It's working. I don't want weird little twists in the anatomy. That's not good. Not good. And I do tend to like these things to follow sort of the natural contours in the body, muscle sets and things like that. So I don't know, that's always sort of been my go-to, and I know I'm not alone in that. Alright, let's clean up her line work a bit. Although it's a little messier than I actually want, though. Not terrible, just messier than I want. Let's see what we want for inks. I want to do like a brushy kind of. No. Should keep it clean. Let's keep it clean. Stick with my round. I call it that because I made it. It's basically a simple round brush, but I feel like sometimes the brushes in Procreate, they act a little different than in Photoshop, obviously. In most cases, I think they're better, but there's certain ones in Photoshop that just kind of work. And the basic round brush is one of them. So I just had to kind of mimic a little bit of that, but then I think I added the tilt right there. So if I want to be able to shade and things like that, I can do that. So basically that's just a pretty basic brush. Let's get into that face here. Then we can zoom back out. Ooh, too big. Easy there. Plus, the other nice thing about if I actually, fully paint them up is I can get into kind of pushing forms around a little more. Whereas if I go more of the animation style sort of thing, it relies heavily on then very precise drawing, which I'm fine with, but harder to be able to kind of push things around in case you want to look for some other forms that you might like, right? Because the only way to then push things around in that instance is to actually just redraw them. And that takes time. Too much time. I know with the ellipses, I could totally just use the ellipse tool, you know, the ellipse guide on Procreate, but I actually enjoy doing them by hand. I think it's fun. And it's good practice. Get this stuff following. Right, it's good practice to be able to freehand ellipses and straight lines. The ears are one of the things where it's like I want them to be obviously ear shaped in the elven sense of the word. But then I'm also like kind of simplifying them because, of course, if you go all cybernetic, your hearing would absolutely be one of the things you would augment, right? Your senses, basically. So I wanted to kind of give that a bit of a mechanical sense. Now, initially, I had her with braids, but I don't know. I always dig the hair cloud. I love the look of that. I think it's really fun. And I think it'll be a nice sort of juxtaposition against some of the more mechanical stuff. Just having this like nice cloudy softness. I think that'll be kind of fun. So let's not forget that stuff compresses quite a bit. Actually, I want to have a little more, like a longer kind of a tube cylinder that it's in. Hair cloud. Now let's think about how that would be affected by a free fall. And honestly, I have no idea. But I also need to consider the sort of design aspect of it. So and ultimately we'll get into some like, you know, fly away kind of things, but that's best left to the end. If anyone has any questions at all, or, you know, conversation topics, it doesn't have to be about this piece, it could be about anything. I don't always feel the need to stay on topic. I enjoy art tangents, or, you know, any kind of tangent. Though I would think that questions would tend to be art related, but they don't gotta be. When am I going to start a Patreon and then take on mentees? Well, actually, Patreon, I am working on that. I was in the middle of prepping stuff for it, but then, you know, needed to kind of get the Kickstarter off and running, off to a good kickstart. So there's so many little muscles right in this spot that I want to get them right. So the Patreon just had to take a little bit of a backseat, though not much. But I just wanted to make sure I had materials ready. You know, some time-lapse videos, but they're longer. They're not like they're not a minute like Instagram. They're going to be like 15 or 20 minutes. They won't all have voiceover because, unfortunately, I don't have enough time to just do voiceover on a ton of videos, because that takes some work to do that. I have to watch the video, see what is really going on, and then you know, do 1 or 2 takes on the voiceover and edit as necessary, and blah blah blah. And I work full time, so it gets tricky. But I at least would like to give some longer videos where it's more clear what's happening, right? So that is in the works, and hopefully will be up and running soon after the Kickstarter wraps. However, my buddy Autumn did bring to my attention that currently Patreon is in a very big legal battle that could have a severe effect on them, and I'm really hoping they can come out of it, because I think the shit that they're dealing with is one set of political views out to get another, and it would suck if they weren't able to recover from that. We'll see. I'm not going to let that inform my process at all. I'm still going to go forward and keep working on getting it launched, and then if something shitty happens, it happens, and we will all deal with it. But let's hope it doesn't. Well, Patreon would have to go really well for me to leave my old life behind. I mean, that would be awesome. Honestly, like, I would love to just, be able to kind of draw and, push myself to constantly just get better and develop stories, and then, maybe help others along the way. I think that would be super fun. That thumb is not right. Let's get that shit right. We're looking at that thing a little too much in profile, and that would not be the case. Turn that. Yeah, but I mean, I would enjoy that a lot, because I used to teach briefly at Laguna College of Art and Design. I was teaching it's like a sketchbook class, basically just in the game department, kind of teaching them how to make good use of a sketchbook, right? And I enjoyed it a lot, and I do I miss some of that. By the way, I know I could totally go with a much more modern or sci-fi sort of take on the grip of this, but I don't know. I like to kind of mix, like, put in some little sort of, what would be considered maybe archaic accents by this point. So sticking with it. So yeah, Patreon is in the works, as well as I want to get because I do have an online shop. It's just been sorely neglected, and so I'd like to get to that a bit as well. A place where people can go and buy some originals, but also some actual, hopefully fun products. Working on some apparel designs, just like shirt prints, like one that I'm wearing right now. I just I'm waiting with the lockdown and stuff. Production on the shirts, at least on adding new products, has been frozen because they're just trying to keep up with the demand on current products. So once they unlock that stuff, then I will throw some shirts up online, mostly because I'm just really picky about my shirts, and I kind of just I want to make some shirts that I want to wear, and then I figured, you know what, why not make them available for everyone to wear? Because sharing is caring. Right? Yeah. Alright. The other thing I should probably think about, and I'm not considering too much, is that when she gets shrunk down, how much of that will actually be visible? I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it. What I am going to worry about are some ugly ass lines. That angle is a little, I don't know if I would see any of the deltoid on that backside or not. sometimes I'll throw in shapes thinking of them as just a shadow shape, but in this particular case, that's not actually how I want to operate. So even though that will ultimately be in shadow, but I don't think we would see the backside of the deltoid. So even though I do think it's good to be able to do straight lines, in this particular case, we're going to use our line assist. Just because it's quicker. I can always make it more organic later if I want to. But it doesn't make sense to do that for a finely honed blade. Cool, yeah, I have a couple of shirts designed and ready, and that's another thing I want to get back to once the Kickstarter is wrapped. I'd like to put out like 4 different print options for shirts. So I have 2 of them. One of which is actually that elf down there, though not in that pose. So I feel like the touch response just with my hands is like dead in the center of my iPad. Every time I try and pinch from the center, it just doesn't let me do it, but it'll let me do it on the sides. It's weird. It's weird and annoying. I'm kind of better off leaving those little details to the very end. Man, as good as the second Red Dead score is, it just can't quite compare to the first one. I think they just hit on something really special with that first soundtrack. It's more iconic. There's something more iconic about it. Oh, come on. Gestures. Gestures. Thing that's bothering me about this hand is that her grip feels really kind of loose. So I'm gonna need to intensify that. Let's see. Get that palm flexing. Yeah, and so one of the things that that I would also include in the Patreon is basically like discounts on whatever I have in my shop. Yeah, I just feel like some kind of little added bonus for dear patrons. Alright, this will be a little trickier. I'm actually gonna switch this to same. I like to usually use whatever brush I'm using. I generally like the eraser to be the same brush, just so I'm not messing with the mark language that I set up. So this is gonna be a not fun tangent. That's not terrible. Okay. Let's see here. Almost nailed it. Almost nailed it. Okay. Whoa. Let's not make it giant. How about that? shape. Streamline that a little bit. There's always the temptation to like flex all the muscles, which of course we never do in life. I mean, sometimes, but it's rare. And we'll often make it feel more stiff if we do that. And part of me wants... I've been using like my fountain pen and my brush pen so much that I'm tempted to use something that has that kind of line variety, but at the same time, like, no, this isn't about... This particular piece is not about the line quality, especially if I end up... I don't like that shape. If I end up painting it up. But sometimes I feel like I just think more in those like thicks and thins. So I might, I don't know. I feel like some of these too get a little finicky. Okay, that's not bad. Yeah. Fuck. Alright. Go back. Sometimes I think some of the brushes that were made like before the big Procreate update, like the 4 or 5, now they were probably already a bit finicky. But I think compared to the new brushes, fruit fly. Compared to the new brushes, they feel really kind of all over the place. So. Did that rough a little bit wrong in terms of the placement of this stuff, where at the top we should be seeing, or well, near the knee we should be seeing a bit more of the side of her leg than what I initially did. One thing to remember with pretty much any of the joints in the body is that the rotation is visible at the opposite end from the joint that's rotating, right? So if you if you turn at the knee, the rotation of it is visible at the ankle, not at the knee. Turn your leg at the hip, and the rotation is visible at the knee. So that's where I'm like, okay, if we're seeing her knee at the angle that we are, but I want her feet kind of turned in, right? Then that rotation is going to be visible at the ankle, not at the knee. So little bit there to keep in mind. Sure all our rotations line up. okay with that. Damn, that took a little longer than I thought it would. But she had a bit of figuring out that needed to happen. Feel like we can get rid of that. I don't usually worry about deleting layers, but because I'm working a little bit larger, I think there's a limited amount of layers. At some point I'll probably duplicate the file and then get rid of other layers as I go, but for now I don't need to worry about that. But let's get on to this girl. Again, let's get her a bit larger so we're not having to zoom in to like 200% for details, because that's not fun. She will get in the way, so let's do that. I believe we are going to be doing 4 exclusive prints for the Kickstarter. Because there is a bundled set where you can get the book and 4 exclusive prints. I believe we've unlocked 2 additional prints with the stretch goals. Not necessarily exclusives, but yeah, a couple additional prints. Pretty sure that's how it's going. Yeah, there'll be this one, the piece that I streamed previously, the painting, the offering of that like falcon girl offering that sacred flame to the big tiger dragon. And then a couple other pieces as well. So yeah. Let's get her a little more transparent. And again, I just want to refine her a bit before she's got the big like linens on. I was debating if I wanted like I kind of don't want them to have the arms. I feel like there's the right arms. What's that part of the glasses called? Whatever. I feel like it's a little more sci-fi if she doesn't have them, and then we're all like, how do they stay on? No idea. Science fiction. Thank you. That one was a lot of fun. It was actually a piece initially, so I'd done a sort of looser version of it, though with a different kind of creature making the offering. It's more of like a half cat, half like a human with cat legs and tail kind of a thing. But then I was like, no, let's tie this into this world that I'm already building. So let's make it the Falcon Girl. So that's what I did. And initially it was actually going to be something I wanted to do as an oil painting, which I still might. I think that would be a lot of fun. Just a fun kind of challenge. It's an oil painting. I don't think I usually work in that kind of those narrow value ranges as much. I tend to go a little more maybe higher contrast, even though there is a lot higher contrast, but not within the planes that we're seeing, right? And that mid plane with the figures, other than the rim light, everything else is kind of in a narrower value range. And then in the background, we have a narrow value range. So it's like several narrow value ranges, all stacked up. Really quick, I can show you the so this is the other shirt design, which is the third cyber elf that I'll get to, but this is the other shirt design that I have, which is pretty fun. I like her. I like all three of them. I think they're going to be a lot of fun to get into the painting. And the nice thing with the painting is I can get into some of the materials too, because some of the stuff will be shinier, some of it will be more like brushed metal, some of it will be matte. So that'll be a fun sort of little challenge to get into. And then of course, this is the shirt design that I'm currently wearing. So yeah, just some kind of fun little things there. The Magentas. That's what we're calling these girls for now. I haven't yet decided how crazy I want to go with like the architecture, because initially I had like a kind of like the cityscape in mind back there. I mean, this has now been cut up and messed with, so it doesn't really give us much to latch onto. But the idea is that we would have the side of the building down the left side of the page, so like they're just free falling like along the building basically, with more of a cityscape in the background. But I haven't thought yet if I want to get crazy with the architecture, or if I want to keep it a little more kind of indicated, because it's a tricky one, if you really want to get into like defining architecture, then that's a whole other beast. But then sometimes it's best to just not overthink it. Alright, one of the things I'm going to have to do, because obviously she was just kind of scribbled in, but I am going to have to figure out exactly where her anatomy is so that I know how this jacket, because she's basically got like a windbreaker, like a kind of a crop top loose windbreaker. So I am going to have to figure out how that interacts with her. And with her, I do, we're looking up at her a little, but not as much. Though I feel like I don't want, well, sorry, I was just debating if I want her legs to be at the exact same angle. There's something that's kind of fun about the idea of that kind of precision, but at the same time, yeah, I feel like I need to push it more. What shapes do I break the body into? I am generally looking at large bone and muscle sets. That tends to be what I focus on. I show you. Quick sidebar. So if we just look at a figure, and if I were to, you know, break this up, I'll go really simple first so you can see. I don't usually start out this simple, right? But what I will do generally is I'm looking at bones and muscles that help me describe contour, right? So I'm looking at kind of the way what would be the pectorals go. I'll look at the deltoids. I'm also looking for these kind of plug shapes, right? That kind of thing, which we have a lot of in the body, right? But then I'll also look at these kinds of things that flow across. So if we go from the great trochanter, right, which is where that hip bone plugs, or the femur plugs into the pelvis, which is generally actually about at the same level as the crotch, right? So I'll just kind of then wrap around to the inside where the knee is, and I'll do the same thing, sort of wrap around from the outside of the calf over to where the ankle is. So playing with these sort of plug shapes and saddle shapes and that kind of thing. So that tends to be what I'm looking at. And wow, those legs got way... Usually I'm paying a little more attention when I'm doing it. So let's do it right. I think like I don't think in these shapes anymore. It's how I kind of used to think. So it's a little... Sometimes it's a little tricky to go back to that. And keep it... Ooh, thanks for the follow. I feel like I work a lot more in silhouette these days than I used to. Yeah, because I have shapes now that are so ingrained, and so what I'll tend to do, I think, is I just totally like what I'll tend to do. Let's lengthen those legs a bit. Although, I mean, whatever. Some people have shorter legs. I'd heard at one point that it's generally like most people's torsos are the same proportions. It's just like the legs that differ the most in terms of length. I don't know if I haven't really taken the time to test that theory. But I could see that being a pretty useful thing to go off of. Yeah. So I do have shapes that are like shapes and proportions that are kind of very ingrained, and then usually what I'll do is I will then just play with those, kind of squash and stretch those based on the look that I want, right? So yeah, I don't mind having a more like a pretty ingrained mental model as long as I know that that's what it is, and I'm kind of free to push and pull as needed. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. Whoa. Oh, am I still on that layer? It's like the alerts come up so seldom on Procreate that when they do, I'm just like, oh, what's happening? With her, I actually kept her design just a little simpler. I don't want to do that because that gets away from creases. Cool. I never know. Sometimes I don't know if like what I'm saying is useful, right? Because everyone's at a little different level, and thing with all the, with all the like cybernetic lines and stuff, I have to be careful with all the tangents that it can create. Can be weird. We don't want tangents. We don't like them. I also, with these girls, I play a bit with a little bit of asymmetry as well. Not too much. I don't want it to be distracting, but a little bit. So we have a sense of where her anatomy is. So let's our little 80s side tail. She's pretty much just kind of like cute 80s with her windbreaker and her side ponytail. Figure out, because this windbreaker would be, I mean, catching some wind, right? As she's like free falling. Gotta pay attention to the seams here. Patch. Don't know what's on the patch yet. probably have to figure that out. And I don't know, I'm literally making this up, and I figure if I can just get it at least close enough to where it doesn't look wrong, that's enough. That's good enough for me. I think the main thing is to kind of be able to capture that feeling that it's like really catching some wind. You can't have anything weighted toward the bottom, right? Because it's all getting blown up to the top. So if you can kind of weight those curves more toward the top, right? Doing things like that rather than things like that, I feel like that'll get the idea across. And hopefully there's no like wind clothing experts out there that are gonna be like, dude, if she's falling at terminal velocity in a nylon windbreaker, the weight of the windbreaker would, I don't know. No. This one's going to be a little tricky. But maybe it's not nylon, right? We're going all sci-fi, so it's some nanotech something or other. A nano weave. A graphene nano weave. So, yeah. That works. Good enough government work. Which, these days, ain't gotta be that good. But we won't get political. Because nobody cares. No one has the patience for politics right now. I certainly don't. Ugh, just all frustrates me. Every aspect of it. Okay. Well, she went a little quicker. Let's clean her up a little. How long have I been? Okay. Okay. Turn you off. I feel like for her glasses, we will do our, oh come on, oh, I want that there. Whee! Might be just a little heavy, but whatever. Whatevs. We'll keep it. Don't actually need the line work to be that perfect if I'm gonna paint this up, so no need to fuss over it. So I don't need the line work to be like super clean, but it is a good idea for it to be accurate. Yeah, I think I probably will paint it up. I feel like there are just more pros to doing this one that way than there are cons. So, and there aren't really any cons to doing it. It's just would purely be a matter of preference. So, not really a big deal. Oh, music is glitching out on me. Not quite feeling right there. not sure if I would be better off. Now, I'll probably rescale them before I start painting, because otherwise I think that's where you can really get into trouble, is if you take the time to paint them up bigger and then you scale them down, and then most of the detail you slave over in the painting just disappears. So, and they'll be scaled down, plus the piece that I'm working on is going to be half the size that I'm working on it at. So, yeah. Best not to mess with that too much. I don't know what kind of... Do I want to go like full on kind of 80s and do like a sort of scrunchy deal? Do they call them scrunchies anymore? We're doing it. We are doing it. Just kind of works with her. I'm okay with that. And with the hair, best not to get too finicky. Because that stuff will be all painted and smudged around by the end anyway, so... Yeah. Yeah, part of what it was is that I was gonna go painterly on the background regardless, and that's sort of where I was toying with the idea of a kind of animation frame look where the characters are a little more... I was gonna do like glorified cell shading, not legit cell shading, because like it's still an illustration, so I can take it further than they would be able to in an actual animation frame. Although Into the Spider-Verse pretty much blew that out of the water, so all bets are off now. She's got this kind of baggy funnel neck collar, so I want to play that up a little more. Which is really more of a modern thing, not an 80s thing. That's okay. Gotta shake things up a little bit. Let's holy shit. Come on. Really? Wow. Why do these... I wonder if it's the screen protector that I have that just doesn't do well with the gestures. Should maybe try a different one. stay consistent. That is not the right angle, is it? Let's do this the right way. How about that? Should be more like that. I think. It's just not looking right. Ugh. Actually doesn't look wrong. Sort of. Just needs to move back. Alright. It's a thing you like just kind of scribble something down and it doesn't look wrong, so you don't really do anything to change it. And then when you really start like figuring out, you know, the anatomy properly, and you're like, oh, that's not right. I just had that on a piece that I can't talk about. Well, meaning I can't tell you what it is or what it's for, who it's for, but there was a hand where I did it, and you know, all the way through I just kept looking at it and like, I don't know, do I want to get into, like, it's such a small part of the thing, but then at the end when, you know, it was like we were doing the last touch before it was going out to the client, you know, and we wouldn't be able to change anything after that. And so finally I was like, okay, I have to address this hand, or I'm just gonna be kicking myself every time I look at it. So I did, and then I was happy. You know, I kind of want these to be curved. I was leaning toward a very straight blade at first, but I kind of want a little bit of a curve to them. I think there's just something fun, subtle. Nothing crazy, just a slight. Yeah, I like that more. And then I want a more squared off kind of a tsuba. Alright. Okay. Swear, hands, man. You either have to just indicate the shit out of hands, or you have to take the time to just get in there and do them. It's hard to get away with any kind of a half measure with those things, because they are not forgiving. Always good to vary those marks, right? Get some short strokes in there, some long ones, some fast, some slow. Try and keep some of that action and fake people out, make it look like you know what you're doing. Until that velocity clothing expert comes along and ruins your day. Damn that guy. I hate that guy. Woo. When did I start taking art seriously? I mean, strictly speaking, I left high school after 11th grade, and because I was going to be turning, 18. I was a little on the older end, and I knew I wanted to do art. I didn't know what that meant yet. But I knew I wanted to do art. So I left after 11th grade and went to junior college. And so I started really pursuing it in whatever way I could at that time, which would have been 1998. So yeah, I just turned 40 in March, right when the lockdown was happening. It was on my birthday, I was packing up my work computer at work and bringing it home, and I was like, yay, happy birthday to me. Fun. But like I said, I didn't know what that meant. So it's hard for me to say, yeah, I wanted to do it and I was taking it seriously, or so I thought, until I then decided to go to school for computer animation. And I went to DigiPen Institute of Technology up in Washington, Redmond, Washington, in the same building as Nintendo of America, because it was actually one of the, I think, art directors or creative directors there that helped start it. Him and Claude Comer, who was the, I don't remember. I want to say he was the CEO of Nintendo America or something. Or I don't know. I don't remember. He had some bigwig position. But anyway, him and this guy Raymond, Raymond Chan, I think, started DigiPen because there were no video game schools at the time, and they needed people to help them. So when I went there, that's when I really started taking it seriously. I thought I was taking it seriously before, and I'd covered, I don't know, 6-7 pages a week in my sketchbook before, and I thought, granted, I was spending a long time on the drawings. I was rendering them, with mechanical pencil and a stump, a blending stump, and I would just not all cool like Eliza does, because she uses those tools and it looks amazing. The way I used them didn't look amazing. It just looked overly rendered. So then when I started there, and the first semester, we had to do 20 pages a week in our sketchbooks, and I was like, what the hell? 20 pages, never mind doubling my productivity. I had to quadruple my productivity, and I was like, is this what people do? At first I was just my mind was blown, but then you know, pretty quickly saw the benefits of that and started getting better quicker. So I was like, oh, okay, I get this. Cool, I can do this. Then enter second semester and a new drawing teacher. And he did not fuck around. So then he upped it. We went from 20 pages a week to 90 pages a week in our sketchbooks. If we wanted an A in the drawing class, that's what we had to do. 90 pages a week. You know, needless to say, you can't spend a shit ton of time on every image that way. So a lot of it was gestures, you know, and just practicing gestures. But I also kind of made a deal with myself. I was young. I was 20, you know, 20, 21, 22, because it was a 2-year program. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to spend... Because I knew that if you did something long enough for like 8 hours a day for 2 years, you could not master it per se, because art, I mean, come on. Whoever like really masters it, right? But that's more esoteric. You get a handle on it, at least a much deeper understanding. So I just kind of made a deal with myself. It's like, look, for 2 years, I'm here for 2 years, so I'm going to draw 8 hours a day, every day, for the time that I'm here. And what that meant, though, was, you know, I was in classes. We were doing 20 units a semester. So, you know, I was in class every day from like 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. So I'd come home, I'd have dinner, and then I would draw from like about 7:30 p.m. to like 3 a.m. And then I would get up at 7:30 and be in class at 9 and do it all over again. But like I said, I was young. I didn't need that much sleep. And it helped. I mean, afterward, then I decided I didn't want to do computer animation. I really wanted... It was in that animation school that I kind of had discovered character design. I didn't know that was a thing before. And when I found that, I was like, what? You can get paid just to like draw cool characters? I want to do that. So then I doubled down on my drawing, and really started taking it very seriously. And so I mean, I would put some time into those pages, even having to do 90 pages a week. At a certain point, I think it dropped down to having to do 60, but it was like half of them had to be out of our imagination. So drawing like 30 pages a week out of your head is a lot. You know, like it takes much longer than if you're just sitting out at the coffee shop doing gesture drawings of passersby. You know, like it's a very different beast. So they took much, much longer. And that was partly because I was taking more time to do them. You know, some people weren't as focused on drawing. They really wanted to do the computer side of things, so they didn't all put that kind of time into the drawing, which is fine, right? It was just I knew that I would rather spend more time drawing than doing like computer animation, so that's what I chose to focus on. So yeah, I mean, fast forward 20 years. I've been working as a sketch artist in advertising since the beginning of 2008. So I'm in my 13th year as a sketch artist. You know, and really like the thing that has really kept me doing it, because I dabbled in doing concept design, but I like drawing. I love drawing on paper and stuff, and sketch art allows me to do that. Although nowadays, like, I'm starting to feel a little less precious about it. I don't know why. I'm starting to like kind of be, honestly, I'm really into Procreate. I don't like hopping into Photoshop at this point. There's something about that feeling of just being chained to the desk, sort of, even though of course I'm not, but I don't know, there's something about Photoshop that doesn't really make me happy. Procreate makes me happy. I want to... one of the things that doing those 90 pages a week really did, and the purpose of it was to ingrain shapes and methodologies, right? Because so much, like, we can't really sit there and take the time to consciously consider every little thing. So some of that has to get naturalized and go into our muscle memory, right, in order for us to really be able to perform at a high level, because otherwise you have to sit there and consider angle, line weight, the weight of the form that you're drawing, length of the mark, speed of the mark, potentially opacity of the mark, and consider all of that with every mark, and that's too much to sit there and have to worry about consciously, right? Because our conscious mind can only handle so much, where our conscious mind can process thousands of inputs a second. Our subconscious can process millions. So the idea is to work that stuff into our subconscious, right? And into our muscle memory and naturalize it so that we don't have to sit there and think about every little nuance with every single mark we're making. Long-winded way of saying 90 pages a week, really useful. And so much easier to do it when you're in a setting where you like have to do it. Where someone's like getting on you to do it. A little harder if you're trying to do it yourself. But if you can, shit, do it. That's a good lesson to learn. That's a good and valuable takeaway. And let your subconscious do some heavy lifting. You know, sometimes it's like, yes, we need to study and put the time in, but also like trust yourself. Like, we know what these forms should look like. We just have to kind of trust ourselves enough to let them happen, right? For me, I remember in 8th grade, I think it was, I had kind of realized that I was doing my best work, like my best drawings. My favorite drawings were always the ones that I did when I was really tired. And it took me a little bit to kind of figure it out, but I realized it was because the other pieces were just, I was overthinking them. Now, granted, if you don't know enough to begin with, I think it's a little harder to trust yourself to just do it right. And, you know, how much do you really know in 8th grade? But I knew more than I realized. I think I realized that I knew more than I thought I did. Of course, every time I'd be like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do the best drawing I've ever done. I know that one I did last night when I was super tired was my best drawing so far, but I'm going to make it, I'm going to do even better. And it never was. It was always like I would get frustrated because it wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. And then I would keep drawing, and I would get really tired and getting ready, you know, thinking about bed, and I'd do some like awesome drawing. I'd look at it the next day, I'd be like, damn it. Again, it's like when I was really tired, what did I do on this drawing that made it so cool? I was so tired, I don't remember. And so little by little, I think I learned to kind of let my mind float a little bit when I'm drawing, and not try and latch on to things too hard. And it would be many years before I realized exactly what I was doing, in terms of really letting my subconscious do all that work. But your feet look a little small. Actually, because I kind of want her to have a little cartoonier proportions. I feel like her feet are just a little small. So let's hang on. They don't need to be much bigger, but I want them. Let's do that. Let's do that. Oh. Around layer 50, my mind tends to check out. I hear that. All right. We're at like the 2.5 hour mark. I think I'm probably gonna call it. Maybe. This sleeve is bugging me a little bit. Let's get this into a better place and then we'll call it. Hello. I feel like I need that. But also this will make a little more sense when I get into painting it. Normally I wouldn't justify it like that, except that I'm not getting into the value in turning the form. So I know that this will make more sense when I can kind of define those folds a bit more, which will help to define the way the forms are turning. But still, I am of the mind that at any point I want to be happy with where it's at. Right? It doesn't have to be done, but I also don't want to be like, I don't know. I don't like to leave anything there. It'll get there at a certain point. Every image reaches that, where you're just like, should I abandon this? But you never want to leave it there. Right? It's like Hemingway with writing. You should always, you should stop writing when you know what's going to happen next. Don't ever stop writing because you don't know what the next step is. Because that's where you freeze up. And I feel like illustrations where you're spending more than a day on them should do the same thing. Sometimes you do. You have to take a step back and like, all right, where am I going from here? And, but I feel like more so with actual paintings, maybe that happens. And I know that's a part of the process, especially when you're doing like some nice rendered oil painting and stuff. Sometimes you really do need to just kind of let it gestate for a while, but I don't like to if I can help it. All right. Okay, I think I'm gonna... Would I do a meet and greet? I probably would. Maybe not right now, with all the COVID stuff. Of course, I don't even know what places are open for meeting and greeting, but when things chill out a little bit, I definitely wouldn't be opposed to that. Yeah. Of course, when things chill out a little bit, who knows what work is going to be like. It might just get crazy. It's actually been kind of busy anyway. So, I don't want to... I'm not going to get into shading right now. I'm so tempted to just start lighting, but I'm not going to do that yet. So yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to a meet and greet at some point. Just not quite yet. But I'm gonna call it. Got some other stuff I gotta do. I actually have to maybe get some actual work done. I'm not sure. Depends on if I feel like I can get everything done on Monday that I need to get done. We'll see. But we'll jump back into this. I may at some point, finish drawing the third figure, not necessarily on the stream. Just as you guys saw me work on 2 of them. I don't know if you need to watch me work on a third, but maybe. But it would be fun if next time we all jump on here, if I could get into the starting to block in the colors and the color palette and all that stuff. So I think that'd be nice. Anyway, until next time, guys, thank you for joining me. It was a nice long 2.5 hour session. So thanks for hanging in there. And we'll see y'all next time.